There's a lot to learn on the guitar. There's songs, there's solos of your favorite guitar players, there's new chords, there's all the scales, there's how to pick really fast. Lots of things to learn. There isn't anything I can think of that's more impactful than understanding triads. Triads are at the heart of the cage system. The cage system is based on an accurate mapping of major triads. It doesn't really matter how you get this knowledge, but just go get it. Beyond anything else you can learn, having triadic knowledge turns you from a guitar player into a musician who plays the guitar. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you will learn a triadic adaptation of Little Wing by Tomo Fujita. Now, if you don't know who Tomo Fujita is, you're welcome. I'm going to link his channel in the description below. He's an elegant, eloquent, genuine, and fantastic musician and teacher. He's an instructor, a professor over at Berklee College of Music, and he's just fantastic. He plays with a really delicate approach. His teaching style is very, very calm and elegant. He's really quite impressive. He was featured over on Brett Papa's channel, and if you don't know Brett Papa, he's a Nashville-based YouTube instructor as well. And very early on in this interview with Brett Papa, Tomo Fujita demonstrates triads using Little Wing, Jimi Hendrix's sort of guitar mecca piece, and he demonstrates Little Wing, the chord progression from Little Wing, using only triads and only on a single set of strings. And you should watch this video because he does this great demonstration, which I barely did justice at the top. And Brett just reels back and is laughing because it's so wonderful. When you understand triads and you see and you can connect what Tomo is doing here, it really is extremely powerful. It really demonstrates the power of triads. I've tabbed this lesson out, so if you see this and you want to get the tabs, head on over to Patreon. While you're at my Patreon page, check out the studio tier. It's at this pledge level that you can get access to my online guitar academy called The Studio. And it's in the studio where I'm interacting with guitar players every single day. I'm teaching live courses. I'm posting assignments on a weekly basis. If you like what I'm doing, you enjoy the style with which I teach, you like the content I produce, consider joining my Patreon page at that level and getting a little bit more access to what I'm doing. And if you do decide to support the channel, I thank you in advance. I'm not going to blather on too much about this. A, Tomo Fujita is a genius. B, triads are super important. C, Brett Papa, thank you so much for having him on your channel. D, let's just zoom in and I'll show you what he was demonstrating. The chord progression for Little Wing is fairly simple. There's a lot of chords in it, but it's not necessarily very, very complex. The chord progression starts on E minor. And we're just going to put it down here on the bottom so we can reference it as we go. Then the song goes to G. Then it goes to A minor. Then back to E minor. Now the chord progression speeds up a little bit. B minor, B flat minor, A minor to C. Then it goes G to F. And then C to D. That's basically the entire chord progression. What Tomo is doing here is he's demonstrating triads in a way where he takes this simple chord progression and he maps it out on these three strings just as triads. So what Tomo is demonstrating here is the power of understanding triads and the power of sort of triadic knowledge on the fretboard. So I played it all the way through at the top. I'm just going to break it down here nice and slow so we can look at what his choices are and watch his demonstration sort of unfold for us. The very first thing he does over the E minor chord is he plays three inversions of an E minor triad straight up the neck, starting here. And it sounds like this. Now I'm going to demonstrate all of these minor chords, and then when we go to the G, I'll demonstrate the major chords. After that part in the progression, I'll go a little bit quicker. But here's an E minor chord, and I just want to reference these. If you don't have a lot of triadic knowledge, I just want to sort of anchor this for you. This is an E minor chord, and if you don't see this as E minor, here's the logic behind it. You certainly see this as a D chord, right? D up a whole step is E, and then this note right here is the major third. If you take that down a half step, it's minor. Another way to look at this is that this is your D minor chord, up a whole step, E minor. So that's his first chord. The next inversion of an E minor chord happens right here on this set of strings, this set that is G, B, and E. This, if you don't know this as an E minor chord, you should see it as the top 3 strings of your E minor bar chord with the root on the A string. That's how he derives that triad. The last E minor he plays is this one on the 12th fret. And if you don't see this as an E minor, it's really an octave above the open strings, and that's what an E minor chord looks like there. All 3 of these strings are open. So E minor. Right? Very, very sweet. Just going up the inversions, nothing fancy, but really using quite a bit of neck on a single chord. The next chord in the progression is G. Since he's up here, he uses the following 3 G major inversions. And then plays the root on the E string. So let's just go through that. This is a G major chord. If you don't recognize that as a G major, it is the top 3 strings of your G major bar chord with the root on the A string. The next inversion is this one. That's a G chord on these top 3 strings. If you don't recognize that, think of your D shape. D, E, F, G. The last inversion he uses is this one here. And if you don't see this as a G major chord, it's the top 3 strings of your G major chord with the root on the E string. So that whole phrase goes like this. So as you can see, we've only got 2 chords of the chord progression. We've been up and down the entire neck already, only on a single set of strings. Tomo's point here is triads are extremely powerful. The next chord in the chord progression is A minor. And that's the phrase he plays. Now, since we've played minor and major chords, we're using the same shapes. From here on out, from this point in the chord progression all the way through, we're going to use the same shapes we've already used over the E minor and the G major chords. We're just going to be using them as different roots. In other words, putting them in different places to satisfy these different chords. So that A minor phrase, again, is just this. And he does this little half-step slide, which is sort of nice. The next chord in the progression is E minor, so he switches to this E minor, descends all of the inversions of the E minor triad on this set of strings, and then sort of repeats that half-step slide. Now this is where the chord progression gets a little bit more concentrated, right? The chords come by a little bit faster, and this is where the real meat and beauty of this exercise come in. The next part of the chord progression goes B minor, B flat minor, A minor. So watch how he treats this. He starts on this B minor chord. B minor, B minor, B minor, B flat minor, B flat minor, A minor, A minor, and then the chord progression switches to C, 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 and now it goes G to F. Here's G major, G major, G major, F major, F major, F major. Then it goes to C, 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 up a whole step to D. And now, to end this demonstration, he now plays triads on the next 3 sets of strings. So he plays a D major triad here. Now he switches to this string set, and now this one, and finally this last set of 3 strings. So from the G chord, that looks like this. G, G, F, 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 C, 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 D, 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 across the string sets. That's the whole thing. Really beautiful way of sort of showing and demonstrating how triads can take a simple chord progression with just major and minor chords and allow you to traverse the entire fretboard. He's just demonstrating, for the most part, triads on this set of strings. Those same inversions exist on this set of strings, and this set of strings, and this set of strings. One chord progression, simple chords, but instead of being locked here, you can play all over the neck using triads. This is a great demonstration of why triadic capability is so critically important to expanding your capability as a guitarist. Okay, there it is. Triads. Over a very, very simple chord progression, allowing you access to the entire neck. And we only demonstrated one set of strings. There are 3 more sets of 3 strings that you can explore those exact same inversions over, right? All the way up the neck, all the way across the neck, any chord in the progression. Go get triads if you don't have them already. And if you do have them, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it interesting. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.